It's seriously, judges are the weakest members of society because they regulate their feelings through threats. Period. That's how they do it. And cowering behind judicial immunity. It's like the robe is a onesie, the bench is a high chair, the gavel's a sippy cup that they throw when the room stops orbiting them. By the way, the angrier a judge gets, the more you know you're right. Correct judges rule, and cornered judges react. Before we get started on anything, ADA is my path. I am 100% engaged in making the ADA happen for me, for my clients, for other people, even people I don't have as clients. So that involves me being a bit of an asshole. There has to be some tact used occasionally with being an asshole. And you have to come in with authority and speak to a judge who is accustomed to being the biggest asshole in the room. And you have to speak to them in a way that lets them know that in this case they can't be. So that requires some finesse. Let me talk to you about court. See, judges are the only people who get to wear a black mass religious robe to work, sit on a literal elevated throne, demand everyone stand up when they walk in, call them your honor, and then they call defendants the ones with delusions. You know, a judge can hold you in contempt for rolling your eyes. It's the only job where being mildly disrespected or pissed is a crime or an offense. If you think about it, when they say all rise, a bailiff is basically a hype man with a gun for a judge in a robe. Also, if you think about it, the absurdity of court is swearing on a Bible to tell the truth in a building where professional liars bill $600 an hour. Your Honor, Your Honor, we've decided that the way to get fairness from somebody is to compliment them about 400 times an hour. Think about the absurdity of that. It's like a slot machine in a robe. You keep paying it honorifics and pray that it pays you back before you go broke. It's basically a toll road to justice. Every sentence costs one honorific. I mean, every time you talk to the judge, you're like, Your Honor, blah, 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 blah. Your Honor, blah, 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 blah. And if you miss a payment, you might do 5 years of not seeing your kids. It's the only job where flattery is a legal requirement. Skip the compliments, and suddenly the Constitution gets real blurry. Psychologists call this threatened egotism, high but unstable self-esteem, where any slight triggers disproportionate aggression. The treatment is a constant stream of admiration called narcissistic supply. Anyway, that's why we say Your Honor 400 times an hour. It's not respect, it's a hostage negotiation. Heinz Kohut described narcissistic rage, the violent fury of a fragile ego that stops being flattered. The legal system read that paper and went, fascinating. Give those people a gavel. Research shows that violence doesn't come from low self-esteem. It comes from high, unstable self-esteem that can't tolerate challenge. So naturally, we built a profession where one guy sits on a throne, everyone calls him Your Honor, and objecting too hard is a crime called contempt of him. That's the actual legal term for hurting his feelings. We took the one profession that demands impartiality and dressed it like the Grim Reaper's business casual cousin. So a judge can stop your argument anytime he wants. It's like playing tag with somebody who can yell time out, but only when you're about to tag him. Here's a campaign ad for a family court judge. Brown for judge. Fairness for families. Findings for whoever has a lawyer. Terms and conditions apply to litigants, pro se parties. See docket for details. Results may vary by representation. Individual parents not included. Fairness sold separately. Litigants argued in under 90 seconds or your money back. Some families more than others. Void where mother or father is unrepresented. Judicial recusal. I got a client going through this right now. Judicial recusal is voluntary self-reporting of bias. We ask the biased person, hey, are you biased? They check themselves It's like a sobriety test administered by the drunk. Sir, are you impaired? Well, I've reviewed the matter and found myself fine. I also ruled that the breathalyzer is inadmissible. So when I go into the courts with the ADA, judges have absolute power over everyone in the room except for one thing, the ADA. They have to comply with the ADA. And I'm the guy who brings them the ADA. The ADA is the only law that follows them home. It applies to the courthouse as well. I'm like a health inspector in a restaurant where the chef thought he was God. Every other lawyer walks in asking the judge for things. I walk in with a statute that asks the judge questions. You should see their faces. It's like watching a king get carded for buying beer. Judges only speak two languages, making rulings and asking you questions. The ADA makes them answer a question or more. You can watch them forget their own grammar in real time. The judges spend their whole careers being the referee. The ADA makes them a player, and they haven't done that since law school. Contempt. Now, there's a real humdinger. Contempt power is a judge's nuclear option, and I've been nuked. Judge Bridget Robb in Nevada. I'll tell you more about that in a minute. The fallout landed on the judge. She vacated her own contempt order in the same hearing, no motion from me, sua sponte, which is Latin for, oh God, what have I done? A judge unringing her own bell that fast. I've never seen a woman object to herself before. It was really humorous. There's a specific facial sequence when a judge realizes that an ADA advocate is in the room. It's like the five stages of grief, but the last one is concern. You know, a judge runs their courtroom on because I said so. The ADA runs on because Congress said so, and Congress outrages your robe. There's no gavel big enough for that. Judges love citing precedent until the precedent has them as the defendant class. See Tennessee versus Lane. The only reason I do the ADA though is so that the underdog can have equal access. Contempt of court is the only situation where the victim, the witness, the prosecutor, the jury, and the judge are all the same person, and they're emotional and unstable. Contempt isn't a legal standard, it's a mood ring. The elements of the offense are the judge, their feelings. Judges call it maintaining the dignity and decorum of the court. Dignity that can be destroyed by a litigant's tone was never dignity. I mean, the judge can scream at you and it's still decorum, right? Contempt power is what happens when you give a man a hammer and tell him that his hurt feelings are nails. It's seriously, judges are the weakest members of society because they regulate their feelings through threats. It's seriously, judges are the weakest members of society because they regulate their feelings through threats. Period. That's how they do it. And cowering behind judicial immunity. It's like the robe is a onesie, the bench is a high chair, the gavel's a sippy cup that they throw when the room stops orbiting them. A therapist needs 3,000 supervised clinical hours before they can talk to your family. A judge needs none before they can end your family. We require more mental health vetting for the person who asks, and how does that make you feel? Than the one who decides where your children sleep. You know who gets a real fitness for duty evaluation? The bailiff. The armed man in the room got screened. He takes orders from the man who did not. So we check the trigger and skip the finger. You know what a judge's election qualifications are? How many yard signs they put out. Has nothing to do with mental fitness. Absolute power doesn't make you strong, it makes you untested. A judge's ego is a muscle that's never been to the gym. That's why one firm no from the ADA and it pulls something on the judge. Judges haven't been genuinely disagreed with since law school. 20 years of everyone standing when you enter a room will do to a personality exactly what you think it does. By the way, the angrier a judge gets, the more you know you're right. Correct judges rule, and cornered judges react. Lawyers can't challenge judges because lawyers have to come back into that courtroom. It's a local business and the judge owns the store. I'm not from the local business. I'm the drifter in the Western. I ride in, cite the ADA, and I don't need to attend his Christmas party. And I'll say this too, decorum Decorum rules exist so that when they take your child, the transcript reads clean. That's the actual function, not order, laundering. A calm room makes an atrocity look like a proceeding. If everyone's polite, whatever happened must have been fair. The quiet is the cover up. A parent watching their child get handed over to an abuser is expected to sit still, and if they don't, the failure to sit still becomes evidence against them. That's the trap in one sentence. The natural human response to the ruling is admissible against you. Your horror is on the record. The judge's bias is not. Decorum means the most rational moment of your life where you would be screaming is the moment they're allowed to write you off. The system takes your child, administers a composure test, and failing the composure test is retroactive proof that the child needed taking. Who invented judicial immunity? Judges. It's not in the Constitution. Judges ruled that judges can't be sued in a courtroom run by a judge. That's not a law, that's a heist where the getaway driver writes a police report. With great power comes great responsibility. Every institution in America believes this, except the one with gavels. They went with great power comes a doctrine explaining why not. Strength and character is being accountable when you don't have to be. Judges built the exact inverse, unaccountable by design, and they demand accountability for a living. That's not strength wearing a robe. That's fragility with a bailiff. Someone who needs armed guards, a raised platform, mandatory standing every time they come in the room, a magic outfit, honorifics on a loop, contempt power, and total legal immunity to feel secure in a conversation is not the most powerful person in the room. They're the most protected person in the room. Those are opposites. We don't bubble wrap the strong. We don't bubble wrap the strong. The peacock's tail, the puffer fish, the judge's bench, nature keeps inventing the same thing. Make yourself look big because you can't actually take a hit. We have to get rid of judicial immunity. It's not part of a fair system. It actually comes from a monarchical system back in England when the judge was considered equal with God because the king was considered equal with God. So that has no place in a constitutional republic. The basic inherent unfairness in court, I'm calling it out. One thing about it, though, the ADA is a dynamic changer, and they know it. And it's the only thing that makes them pause. And I've actually seen them get scared. I've seen several judges run. I've seen judges do what judges do when they're faced with accountability. The ADA causes them to have to face accountability. And the general response is they either comply or they run. That's why you need an asshole in your corner, a very seasoned asshole that knows how to stand up to judges.